Hey, what's up, horror fans? This is Vincent DiSanti, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of The Ghost Files. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Friday, August 15th. I'm Vincent DiSanti. It's Friday night, and it means The Ghost Files Live. It's good to be back after a couple of weeks. I know everyone, especially the horror fans in the Friday the 13th world, are going wild this week for Sweet Revenge. We got a bunch of stuff to dive into because I haven't been around for a while. There's stuff from Crystal Lake that we need to go over. There is stuff from my trip to Los Angeles last weekend, and also diving into not only Sweet Revenge, but I just so happen to be at the Sweet Revenge premiere party. So I have some behind the scenes photos that I took behind the scenes, and I'm going to give you a full account of how the event was, how the screening went, some things in the Q&A that are going to help clear up a lot of the questions that fans have about Sweet Revenge. And we're going to dive into some of the reactions that fans have been having to the first Friday the 13th official Friday the 13th piece of filmography, a short film, a vignette by the title of Sweet Revenge, which dropped on Wednesday, August 13th, which has taken ever since the horror world by storm. Everybody is weighing in their opinions, and it wouldn't be Friday the 13th if there weren't people on opposite sides of the spectrum floating in the middle all over the place. And we're going to dive into all of those things, especially my review of Sweet Revenge, which I will get into a little bit. But before I do, if you haven't already, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe at the button below, hit that like button, do all those fun things. I'm also going to do some shout outs in a second, but I want to show you a cool new trick that I have for you guys this week. Bam, look at this. If you guys start making comments, they're going to pop up right where my little hand is here. And it's right over my little complaint department. So have fun with that, guys. Let's say hi to some people. First one I see is Brandon Gonzalez. Of course, this guy always blowing up my chat. Good to see you, buddy. Joe Gallo is here. Pirated Copy, you've been here for a while. Ghostface, thanks for hanging out in the chat. Neil's in the house. I just got Angry Orchard Pack today, and it wasn't half bad. We'll get into, we're going to add blood orange and apple spice reviews to the campaign tonight. Cecil Laird's in the house tonight. He weighed in along with Fuego last night on their take on the Angry Orchard Sweet Revenge short, and they pulled no punches. Brandon Covington's in the chat. What's up, man? Good to see you, Brandon. Brandon is one of our backers who is now in Ghost in the Fog. We're going to have some updates on that as well, which is in animation right now. The Crawling Chaos wants to know, how do you like them apples? Zach is a new member. Welcome, Zach. I saw you doing some chatting in the thing before. Welcome. Good to see you. Alley Girl, as always, it is good to see you. Mitch the Ripper is here. Chuck Phelps is here. Who else did I see? Doc and Rocker, there he is. What's up, Greg? Good to see you, buddy. And a ton of other people. Late Night Maskers here. Good to see you, Joe. Logan, Real Popcorn Geek, Big Smells. Look, the 71 people in here, and holy shit. Hey, guys. This is going to be fun. So, a couple little things. Basically, before I get into the Sweet Revenge review, I'm going to take you on a journey. This has been a crazy couple of weeks for me. It's involved a lot of travel. It's involved a lot of interactions as a Friday the 13th fan that I never thought I would get to have. And just an overall experience as a Friday the 13th fan and fan filmmaker that I had quite an incredible week of things that were going on. So one thing I'm going to ask you guys is that I do have the chat open. You guys can say whatever you want. You guys make all the comments there if you guys want to react to it. I'm not going to have a lot of chance to react to everything you guys are talking about. Only because I'm going to be going through what I've been through and sort of all that other stuff. The other thing I didn't mention before was that I actually got a chance to go up to the Never Hike Alone of the original filming camp. There was a huge mudslide up there. I was very concerned about the condition of the camp. So I did go up to the camp and check on it. And I have behind the scenes photos that I'm going to show everybody after my Sweet Revenge review. I'm not going to make you guys to go through all that, but I will talk about it a little bit up front. So one thing I want to start with, and it's going to require me moving myself around. Here we go. Bing, bing, bing. How do you guys like this week, huh? I had my thing in the right place. I didn't have to turn it on during it. I'm getting the hang of this, kind of getting the hang of this. So let's start with last weekend. So last weekend, I was in Los Angeles for Crystal Lake Nightmares, and I wanted to just take a moment to thank Tammy and everybody who was, and Tommy, and everybody who was a part of that. The crew bringing that together, the staff who was working it. You guys did an amazing job. You made it very fun. There were so many cool things to look at. I mean, the TV show Jason that they never made for CW was there. You actually look at it. It looked like it was like 9 feet tall. They had great, there was lots of great guests. I had a chance to meet a lot of new Friday the 13th alumni. Like shout out to Glenn Ennis, who came up and had nothing but great things to say about Never Hike Alone when he came up to the table. We actually met one morning. We both went out to go do some laps in the pool. And I was hanging out with Andrew and just happened to say, hey, Glenn was a really cool dude, and I would really like to work with him in the future. I also got to meet a fan favorite of mine, Shavar Ross, who played Reggie the Reckless in Friday the 13th Part 5. I did pitch him the Roy Lives Reggie the Reckless fan film, and he loved that idea. So I think I'm going to get that into the stream at some point and have Shavar on. He was really, really cool, which means I also got to see Ron Sloan. I got to see Deb Voorhees, Deb Sullivan, Adam Marcus, Kane Hodder. Who else is there? I mean, I said hello to Sean. I don't know if he remembered me. Obviously Tommy was there, Tom Matthews, Vinny Guastafaro. My crew was there, Andrew Lady, Brian Forrest, and Lennon Hobson. The first time we've ever done a con together, the 45th celebration anniversary. The Ghost Cut played 3 times that weekend. We had some pretty good turnouts. I think a lot of people came out and said hello. If you came out and met us there and you're now watching from that week, hello, welcome to the channel. Thank you for jumping on board the Never Hike Alone train. It was just a really cool experience. There was a lot of people there from the franchise, other names, Judy Aronson, Lori Marie Taylor, Rob Heaton stopped in. I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I wish I did. I met Adam Craner from Jason Goes to Hell, who played Ward. We had a great conversation at dinner, which was really, really cool. So it's just it's funny who you bump into from the different films over the years. So I just had a really great experience in Los Angeles. I'd been planning to go out there for a while, and it was my plan to go to Los Angeles from Friday to Friday, basically take an entire week off, go off. I had ADR records for Ghost in the Fog on Tuesday and figured, let me spend a couple extra days, see some friends and do that stuff. And then San Diego Comic-Con came around, and the announcement for Angry Orchard short Sweet Revenge debuting on August 13th threw an entire wrench into my plans because they posted that QR code, and when you scanned it, it was for the event that was taking place at the Angry Orchard, basically the Angry Apple Orchard in Walden, New York on August 13th, 3 days before I was supposed to come home. I was met with a quandary. Do I pay the fees? Do I do what I got to do to get to this thing? I felt like I really just had to be there. So I did the thing. I'm not going to leave you in suspense. I changed my tickets. I got a red eye home on Tuesday night. So I could be home in time to get my car and then drive out to Walden, New York, which is about 4 hours of where I live from in Massachusetts. Now, before that happened, we had a great weekend at Crystal Lake Nightmares, seeing everybody. Monday, I did travel up to the Never Hike Alone camp. We will look at those photos later. You're going to see the condition the camp is in right now and some of the damage caused by the mudslide. So good thing we filmed the movie when we did. Another great thing to report is that on Tuesday, I met with Chelsea Rebecca and Zoran Gavojcik of the Dead Meat channel, and we were able to record their voices for Ghost in the Fog. And I cannot wait to cut their voices into the movie. Anyone who has the Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-ray has seen our temp track that has my voice. We had Luciana on there, and then we do have Dom, who did do a professional record for that. It's a decent job, but what Chelsea and Zoran brought to the roles is going to add so much more texture and context and fun. They are very funny. The comedy has been increased a ton, and the gore is in animation right now, and I cannot believe, you guys, it is so cool. Joe, you're in the chat. I showed you what's going on. I showed him a very early clip. I saw an update of it today. It's getting bigger and bloodier, and I want you guys to really be excited for Ghost in the Fog, which is slated to land early next year. It's going to take us the rest of the year to get that funded. The Indiegogo is still open right now if you want to check that out. So you can do that, but I'm not going to spend too much time because let's get to what everyone wants to talk about, which is Sweet revenge. So picking up with my story, I fly from 11:30 at night to 7 o'clock in the morning to Boston, Massachusetts, get picked up. It's an hour back to my house, go home, take a shower, get changed, book a hotel room nearby, which La Quinta Inn, beautiful. Great work. Just great work over there. All around. 5 stars all around. 10 out of 10, do it again. So I get in my car. It's got to be like 1 p.m. I thought it was a 3-hour drive. It's actually more like a 4-hour drive. I start driving out, and let me tell you, the thunder and lightning storms that rolled through the area during this drive were insane. I mean, it was like hurricane force winds, lightning bolts striking down all around you. I really felt like I was in a Friday the 13th movie, and it set the mood. I mean, I was ready. Rain or shine, I was getting to this fucking party, and I was going to hang out. And I was hoping the entire time that we would have rain and lightning, and we would be locked into Friday the 13th part 4, like on location with the proper weather to go watch this film and to see everybody. But lo and behold, the weather did hold out. By the time I got there, it was actually pretty sunny and pretty nice. And while I'm doing that, I might as well bring up, I didn't realize in this view the whole time, might as well start bringing up some pictures from the thing. So first of all, we pulled in, I pulled in, and I parked in the parking lot, and I started the walk, and the walk starts with this beautiful walk through the apple groves, walking on down. You get down, you see the Angry Orchard truck as you walk in, and then there was a line starting to form at the main building. And as I got into line, they were handing out masks, maybe left over from San Diego Comic-Con, maybe left over from some other events. But being one of the first in line, I ended up getting a mask, got someone in line to take a picture of me in front of the red carpet. And I just realized that, there's been a lot of discourse about this film. I know I've been a part of it. I know that we have complained about masks and size of people and, who's directing it and who's doing this and who's Jason Universe and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to tell you, I didn't travel overnight, 4 hours through all that bullshit to have a bad time. I went there to have a good time, lean into whatever they were promoting, and just see what the hell this was all about. Because after 16 years, we're finally getting some Jason Voorhees content. And no matter how you feel about this short film, that is the important part. And that is the important thing to keep in mind when we step through this. And that this film is going to have its lovers. It is going to have its haters. It's going to have its in-betweeners. But it's something to talk about. It's something new. It did some unexpected things that I didn't expect it to do. And it does other things in other areas that maybe fall short. Maybe prove me wrong. We'll get you to that in a little bit. But let me talk a little bit more about what led up to that moment. So I got in, I got a mask, started looking around. Here's basically what the place looked like. There was a screening set up with the tent. They had a nice, cool screen, nice big LED screen with, solid sound. It was actually a really cool screening location. There was a little issue with the color during the presentation, but it's one of those things where I've been to so many film festivals where the color is just off or something just happens depending on the render. It happens. It didn't affect the screening, I would say, at all in that. There was a DJ booth. There were really good food, and they had lots of cool swag, like this thing right here, which I have again, which is my water cup tonight. So I ended up picking up some souvenirs because I said, why not? I traveled all this way. I might as well get some stuff. I also got this cup, which glows in the dark, which is actually pretty rad, and to commemorate the event. And I'll show you guys the mask in a second. And I'll show you some other things that you got. They were handing out some stickers. So you had like this thing, got this guy. Look at that mask, baby. I know you all love it. They have this little thing where the tree's putting on the mask, which I would actually love to see that short film. Maybe we can animate that with Mako Animation. Handed this thing that you can put on the inside of your truck or something. So that was pretty cool. As soon as I got down there, I bumped into a few people that I know. Quick shout out to Jason Parker from Friday the 13th franchise.com. We had a chance to hang out and talk. We've talked many times online, and we had a great session of just like nerding out about Friday the 13th and catching up. And then I met Randy and the crew from NECA. And guess what? I remembered all their names. Gold star for me. Ken, Kenny, Manny, and Rebecca. You guys were all awesome. We all hung out at the table. They gifted me. They were handing out stuff. I got a part 5 NECA doll, so the Dream Jason, which is my favorite Jason, and it has all the pieces. It's got the faces. It's got the the poster mask. It's got the worm face. So shout out to NECA, who, I'm not saying officially, but if it was up to them, there would be a Ghost Jason NECA doll. So how about that? How about them apples? Thanks for the shout out with those guys. But obviously, we'll get into kind of that stuff later. So it was cool. I met some people on the NECA staff who love Never Hike Alone. We started hanging out, and lo and behold, who walks in behind everybody, just casually and chilling, with Schuyler White. Schuyler White is the new Jason in Friday the 13th, Sweet Revenge, as it was predicted by me 3 weeks ago, and then officially released last week. Schuyler walked in and just was sort of standing there. And while he was standing there, before everybody rushed him, I walked up to him, shook his hand, got to have a few words with him. He went and kind of talked to some more people, and we showed up later. And I got him to sign my mask. So I got a free mask. I got Schuyler to sign it. We had a great little conversation. He is aware of what Never Hike Alone is, which was pretty cool. And, it's just basically, he's going to be a part of the club. I mean, this guy's going to be going to convention after convention after convention. You're going to see him on the circuit. Who knows if they're going to do more of these? So I would just get used to seeing Schuyler. He is a physical specimen, very tall dude. I know there's been a lot of talk about his size. We'll get into that during the straight up review. But I would say from my perspective, this dude is built to play Jason. He's got the stature, he's got the physicality, and he's got the attitude. He's a really cool dude. And I'm glad we had a chance to talk. And that was that. So once that got going, we got into the film. And so while I talk about the film and I talk about just sort of a review of what the story was, I am going to play the trailer in the background. So if you excuse me, I'm going to try this real quick. All right, let's just play that in the background. And there we go. So Sweet Revenge, just to do a little recap from, if I can pitch it by the time this is over, is about this girl right here, Eve, who is going on a vacation with her friends, especially her fiance, who has just proposed to her. Eve is dealing with something, a little bit of anxiety. Does he still love his ex-girlfriend, her best friend, who he used to date? Well, he didn't choose him. He chose Eve, but still that question lingers. So she takes a canoe ride out on Crystal Lake and gets pulled underwater and enters into a world that she can't even predict, or anyone else in the theater. After being pulled underwater, Eve resurrects and comes out of the water maybe 6 hours later, wanders on shore, finds all these dead bodies of people who were at the camp, sees her fiance making out with her supposed best friend. And then hold on, let's do this. Boop, boop. Supposed best friend, in which before she can confront them, they are all confronted by Jason Voorhees. Jason comes up on the party. He starts smashing people around, kicks down the door, crushes a dude's head with a boat motor, kills another dude with a boat propeller, tries to take a girl's eye out with an apple splitter before chasing them down the street. Now, the big twist in the film is that as Eve sort of comes out of the water, she has something different about her. She's got not just dark eyeshadow. Hold on, I have show and tell stuff. She's not just dark eyeshadow. She is also dark. There is something in her that has changed. What is it? What could it be? And as she's driving away with her best friend, she stabs her best friend in the chest. The car crashes. She gets out. She faces off against Jason, and then they step towards one another. And then we cut to black. And that is basically Sweet Revenge, a short little story about betrayal and revenge. Eve, in her own way, gets her revenge in a similar way that Jason got his revenge on everyone that's around there. Now, I'm going to dive into some of the pieces of it. And I'm going to try and start with the positives. And then we're going to go into some of the, let's call them constructive criticisms of this short, and how I think that although this wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, I see an opportunity for Friday the 13th and some of the new fans and some of the fans who enjoy this, for this to sort of be its own little spinoff. So let's dive into some of the good stuff. I will say this, as far as the look and feel of the film, it does feel professional. It is shot by professionals. It is, made up by professionals. The art department did a very nice job. The costumes look good. The acting is really solid. It is a solid, if this was in the fan film world, you would consider this one of the best ones. That is certainly true. I mean, the level of effects that are done in the film, especially when it comes to the boat motor and head crush, That is really, really great work. I personally loved him taking off the propeller and throwing it. As you know, in Never Hike Alone, Jason throws a ton of shit in our, our stories. He launches bows and arrows. I love when Jason uses projectiles or throws things at people. I think it's one of his coolest weapons. To see him do that in that fashion was really cool. The stunts were really good. Schuyler, also being a stuntman, also having world records for firewalks and things like that, did a really good job. And the action of covering some of this stuff was really nice. There was nice camera work. I would say it is pretty funny, um, seeing the opening of fan films with drones and things like that. Like, it did feel like the opening of Never Hike Alone at the beginning, which wasn't a bad thing. I mean, it's a nice cinematic way to open up the film. I thought that the first chapter did a nice sort of, I try to really sit back and watch this thing about, okay, what is it trying to tell me and what is the story trying to tell me? And I thought that it was pretty economical in the way that it set up Eve, set up the relationship, set them up. Now, where my first sort of issue with the film comes in is sort of the creation of this camp. And it's one of the things I've touched on before. And I think it's one of those things that often gets overlooked when you think about the broader context of the world that you're building. Because I've always said that when you're building a Friday the 13th film, you can't just think within the boundaries of your film. Let's say 13 minutes of this film. You have to think, hey, if this does good enough, they're going to want to see a next one and the next one. So how does the logic of the world that we're building in this one stand up if I try to take it into another world outside of this? And how does it work? The setup of the camp was pretty cheap. Having a camp that's been refurbished and then turned into Crystal Lake isn't something that's brand new. It's been done in many, many comic books. In fact, some of the stuff that goes on with Eve is very likened to The Abuser and the Abused comic, which came out sometime, I believe, in the early 2000s, probably like 2007, if I'm correct. Someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But needs to say, it doesn't need to be completely original, all those things. We should be taking things as far as, these films should be looking at some of the things in the comics and other lores to sort of create these new multiverses of Friday the 13th. But anyway, it's sort of being a place that's been renovated. Always confuses me, because if someone's out there working on Camp Crystal Lake and trying to renovate it, why isn't Jason attacking them? How is he letting them finish the renovations and then coming back? My other issue with this was actually a story issue and a character issue with Eve, with the fact that she was so worried about whether her boyfriend loved her or not. She spent most of the time wandering away from him. Now, there was that one scene where he sort of denied hanging out with her to go skinny dipping for some reason, to go fishing, but obviously that was to go hang out with the other girl. It just seemed like she spent a lot of time away from everybody else by her own choice, and that by isolating herself, she kind of brought on this doom to her own. The other big question for me in this one, before I get to the biggest one, is, she gets into the canoe, she gets out of the water. Why does Jason attack her? What has he been doing this whole time? There is no setup to Jason. There is no sort of, there is the scary story that he tells while, drinking beer and eating an apple. We got our nice little Crazy Ralph sort of doom and gloom, I'm forgetting the guy's name. Part one, but the doom and gloom warning that, oh, this place used to be, the old stories and stuff like that. They don't dive into the lore, they don't go into specifics, but just that sort of there, like, just because something happened there before, if you ever watch the original Friday the 13th, especially Friday the 13th part one, that's a building tension there. There are warning signs. There have been sabotages. There have been things that haven't happened. And then when, the rest of the campers arrive there, Pamela has no choice but to stop them from opening the camp. There's an active stopping of the opening of the camp. So that's what the inciting incident is there. In part two, Jeff and Sandra wander over the no trespassing sign and go too close to Jason's home, and he follows them home and kills everybody. In parts 3 and 4, Jason is sort of still on the same killing spree. He's just moving from one place to the next place. So he's sort of being pushed by the, literal plot to just move through those two movies. On his way back to Crystal Lake, he is murdering people on the way. In part 5, Roy's son being killed, little Joey being killed, sends Roy on the massacre. In part 6, Tommy resurrecting Jason brings him on the massacre. There's something, go Tina, go to the kids in the boat, go to Jason Goes to Hell. He's sort of just still sitting there, in Jason X, they've captured him. In Freddy versus Jason, Freddy wakes him up from hell. And in 2009, the kids wander in the camp and they're not supposed to be there. So all of these inciting incidents from all of these films, whether you love them or not, do have a specific exciting incidents. I can't tell you what the inciting incident is in this film, which sort of makes it sort of fan filmish. And these are the mistakes that fan filmers make, that they just sort of think like, oh, they just show up to Camp Crystal Lake and Jason just shows up. There's no context to it. There's no backstory to it. It's just Jason's lair. Let him go do his thing. And in a 13-minute short, maybe, hey, just let that go and keep watching, dummy. Keep, give me the garbage. And that is a way to look at it. But as you guys know me, and I think a lot of other Friday the 13th fans, we're obviously watching with a fine tooth comb. I was explaining to somebody early today. It's like, you can't give Friday the 13th fans even a frame of something wrong, or else they're going to find it. And if you look today, some of the stuff that's being posted, they're talking about some of those frames, like specifically this one, which has been going around, which makes Schuyler White, a 6'7" monster, look like he's a little child. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's move on to the next parts of the story. I want to get to this sort of angle. So when she's pulled into the water, one of the things that's been going around the internet right now is this thought that Crystal Lake is sort of like Pet Cemetery, that if you pull people into the lake, they will turn and become zombies or undead ghouls, come out of the lake and go on their own thing. Now, during the Q&A with Mike P. Nelson, he brought some clarity to this, and it's not necessarily that the lake does it. It's not the lake doing it. It's not if you go die in this lake, you're automatically coming back. It's not a 1-for-1. What was happening is because Eve was being betrayed, like Jason was betrayed, that's why she was allowed to come back. It was the betrayal by her fiance and her best friend that brought her back. And which is my first constructive criticism, which is, if that was the angle, what would have really helped sell that is if, while Eve was underwater and we think that she is dead, you cut to a room where the best friend and the boyfriend are starting to make out, and you see them starting to have this flirt. And the more heavy their petting gets, you see bubbles come from the lake. You see more bubbles come from the lake, and more bubbles come from the lake. You think Jason's coming out of the water, but Eve steps out of the water. She's pissed. She's so mad that her boyfriend's cheating on her. She's coming back from the dead to play revenge. That walk from the water to the house. Now, as she's walking back, we're seeing all of these dead bodies that are there. The other sort of, you got to kind of look the other way on logic, is Jason is stringing up people all throughout the day. There's one section where there's a couple people, there's a couple with their throat slit. That's a couple of fans that were allowed to come out and participate in the film, who got to be in the film as just dead bodies. The people who own those cabins were the people on the clotheslines. And so you have all of these things, but they're right outside the house. And it's been hours since Eve is missing. No one is looking for her. There's all these dead bodies everywhere, and no one has noticed. It's just sort of like, step by step, we are stepping out of reality, and we're just in a cartoon type logic going through this, which sort of like that's where the I think Sweet Revenge sort of is hurt. It's hurt by its tone and sort of not being a little bit more clever in the way that it goes about some of the business. So Eve, as she comes out of the water, an undead ghoul and Sweet Revenge as it is, she looks shocked. She's shocked that people are dead. She is shocked that, the man with the apple has a flashlight and an apple in his eye, or I guess he has the scope. But I would say it would be funny if you had the apple orchard bottle in the eye. I thought that was a pretty given. I think Brandon Scott Murphy gave me that one. That was pretty there. So you have that. So that's one thing. So then she gets back to the house, and Jason sneaks up on her again. Now, if Jason is undead, why is he attacking another one of his kind? Does he not know that she's undead yet? They just seem very confused about who she is and they are. And I guess that's a story angle. But when you go back and put it through a microscope, it's like, what's going on here? She doesn't realize that she's dead yet. And maybe that's what she's kind of discovering as she's going on about this, because by the time she gets to the end of the short, I think she specifically knows what she is. But there's no context ever connecting her to what's going on. That back and forth, it's such a casual discovery of the affair that you don't get the heightened sense of emotion and the build toward that moment of her being sort of like Jason, drawn to the moans and screams of someone in the heat of passion. That would have been a great thematic way to introduce a character like this. So getting into now really the good stuff, this is where the film shines. Now, when you get through this story, which I would say is clunky at spaces, time jumps, it's sort of weird. it holds on just enough to get you to this moment where you know Jason's coming in. Jason picks up Eve, tosses her through a window, grabs a motorboat which has been set up. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, just you couldn't not miss the setup for this thing. It was so funny. I fixed the boat motor, and we all saw it in the trailer, so we knew it was coming. Um, Great bait and switch by the trailer editor, by the way, making the door kick look like it went right into the machete stab. That was a brilliant cut the way this is, because I did not expect him to kick down the door with the motorboat in his hand. When I even saw him pick it up, I was like, wait a second, I thought he has the machete. And before he even finished that thought, he was booting down the door, which it was a beautiful door kick. Door kicks are one of the coolest things in Friday the 13th movies. Every Friday the 13th film has to have a good door kick. This one has a great one. Coming through with the boat motor. The kill on the fiance is beautiful. Not just chopping his head, but smashing his head and going all out. Like I said, the propeller throw was really, really nice. It was a little specific to go after the apple thing. But hey, you know what? If you're on theme, you're on theme, I guess. Let me see what's another thing I have here. So we have the kind of this moment here. We can talk about the mask. I mean, obviously in certain shots, it kind of just, if they just lit the side, I mean, they didn't light the face at all. I mean, if you look at these shots, very rarely, I mean, look, you're seeing a corner of the eye, you're seeing, some shades of face, it's being lit from two directions. You're never seeing a full frontal shot of this mask. I would say that says to me they were not thrilled with what they were working with, so they worked around it and they found a way to find some interesting shapes. So kudos to the gaffing and lighting department and the cinematographer and Mike for trying to find a way to make this mask not look weird. Although it didn't always work, they did manage to fly through some of these scenes and you didn't really notice. And there are a few nice shots like the profile and things like that. He's kind of there. So getting back into where we're at, so we get everybody tossed out. Now we have the final drive. She's driving away. We get the sense that she's, Eve gets a machete in the stomach and through this. So when I first watch it, I didn't pick up on that she was undead. I just thought that they had her survive the drowning and she just popped up 6 hours later and it was just a continuity error. It wasn't until she got stabbed in the chest that I was like, is something different about her? How the hell did she survive this? And then obviously she survives the car crash and you have the end. I would say another, the twist of her killing the girl is interesting. Obviously that's kind of a nice twist. Her getting out and all of a sudden having this mean streak and looking at Jason. There was a question of what are they doing? Are they fighting? Are they coming together? What's going on? And in the same panel, we talk when Mike was asked the question, his hope is that, like I said before, that she is a representation of the betrayed. She sort of links with Jason in a way, I guess you could say, like Halloween Ends, and sort of becomes a part of his tribe. Now, cutting away on two characters walking towards each other at the end and cutting to black, we did that for our first trailer of Never Hike Alone. That's what that's reserved for a trailer. I don't know if that effectively set up anything or really, I guess it lets people figure out what they want the ending to be. But I will say it's another moment where I think fans were sort of like, what was that? And you're also stepping on a huge hornet's nest in the fact that in this 13-minute trailer, you have if this 13-minute commercial, you have basically stepped on something that is like lore breaking. Like we've never seen Jason partner with anybody before other than his mother. So why would Jason suddenly partner with somebody? It is something that is extremely wild. It is wild as Jason being a body jumping demon snake. It is wild as Jason's, essence possessing Roy and inspiring him to go out and kill people in the name of his son Joey. It is a shark jumping moment for the Friday the 13th franchise. But if we've learned anything about the Friday the 13th franchise, is that is capable of not only surviving shark jump moments, but embracing them and turning them into their own lore and thing. And I think that as much as Sweet Revenge kind of stumbled its way into our lives, just as the Jason universe has in certain ways, I do think that there is potential with this thing. I think that if there was some focus, that this is an avenue that if it was kept in a very specific lane, this isn't the film that comes out in however long, this isn't the TV show, that this is every year Angry Orchard and Mike P. Nelson are going to get together and add another chapter of Sweet Revenge, just like we kept adding chapters of Never Hike Alone. We built a world, we built on top of it, and we kept going. I think that there is a section of fans that would enjoy this type of storyline, the abuser and the abused. Even if you go all the way back to the not the Never Hike, I always do that. Sorry, guys. The NES, because I want to say NES, the NES Friday the 13th video game, you have, people coming back from the dead and fighting on Jason's behalf in that game. So it's not technically tied into like real lore, but if you do that, and there are other fan films maybe that I know of that may tap into something with their ability to raise other dead victims and things like that, I'm not against that idea. I think it has to be executed well. I was actually talking to my mom, of all people, about this because she had watched it, was asking me questions, and by far Sweet Revenge is the most emo Friday the 13th film that has ever existed. This is basically the dashboard confessional if it was a Friday the 13th movie. It's just very like sad and like depressed in a lot of different ways, and it has to, so it's kind of a funny that it kind of has that tone. I've never seen one like this. I've never seen a Friday the 13th like this. Speaking of tone, the music was pretty cool. It was nice to hear some of those familiar beats, the kills and the mahs. Having that all back in the right place seemed to be a nice step forward. I think that what would have helped a little bit at the end is if they would have spent a little bit more time with Jason and Eve, and if they had introduced Pamela in that moment as a ghost, and Pamela was the one who stopped Jason from attacking her and said, "She's one of us now. Now go. More are coming, and we need to be ready." And then the last shot isn't them facing each other, but Jason walking into the water and Eve walking into the water and disappearing. And then you end on one little half-bitten apple floating through the water, and then you cut to black. And if they had done that, and they had those little interstitials in between where Eve was underwater and the affair brought her back, I think if they had just those two scenes, people would be speaking a lot differently about the story and actually praising it for it being interesting and sort of doing it in a way that felt natural. The other thing that is taking a big hit is Schuyler and the look in this. Now, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that I haven't been a huge fan of the mask. I haven't been a huge fan of sort of the overall presentation that we've seen of Jason, but I have to stand by the fact that from the neck down, he's basically wearing the same thing that I came up with Ghost Jason. So I can't not say that the costume that they've built doesn't have good parts to it. I mean, obviously from the neck down, it has all the pieces. One thing that they didn't do, and this is, I did talk to Schuyler about this, and I will give him kudos. Schuyler is about 6'7". He weighs on, an average day, 225. When he was working on this film, he bulked up to about 235. So 6'7", 235. That's a good size Jason. You know what I mean? I've never been a fan of, and even though I love CJ Graham, I'm not a big fan of yoked Jason. I'm not a big fan of, I only do arm day Jason. Like all I do is curls for the girls and bench, and I'm out there just lifting dead bodies all day. And now I got the body of Ricky the Body Steamboat. This guy is a lanky, weird, broken bodied individual. I think if you've ever seen some of the concept art that's been out there of some undead Jason, just like that, like I'm a big fan of Tom Morga. I mean, obviously Friday the 13th part 5. Tom Morga is not a big dude. He's lanky. Ted White wasn't jacked. He was just cowboy strong. Richard Brooker was a trapeze artist. He had larger arms, but he was more fit in tone. He wasn't a bodybuilder. He was athletic. So, everyone who's saying that Jason needs to look like he can bench a fucking Buick, I think that is going a little bit overboard. Now, could they have done some things to this costume to make it look a little bit better? Hell yeah. One thing that they did not do was give Schuyler any sort of hump on the back of the appliance. What also would have helped is some stunt padding under the jacket to just raise the shoulders. If they had just sort of provided him with some costume elements that allowed his shoulders to be a little bit broader, really shaped out that neck, and sort of gave him that that triangle shape on his thing. So that way he had the nice broad shoulders. It triangled into his, his waist, but you had the jacket there to still fill out the space. And then I think I know you guys give me shit for this, but if you tighten up those jeans a little bit, it just makes his legs a little bit more pronounced and a little bit more of a silhouette. The other issue here is the way they're shooting Jason in this shot is a little bit over the shoulder of Eve, angled down, okay, from across a field where he is standing next to nothing. So this is an issue with the cinematography and the shot, making him a 6'7" person look like Chucky. You know what I mean? Like he looks like a Chucky doll right there. He looks like the thing I'm carrying around in the glass case. If they would have shifted this camera down and did an over the hip shot shooting up at Jason and then shifted his position over to the trees and put him in a more compact area where it looked like his head was breaking out of frame, he would have looked to size and more imposing. They probably wanted to use a longer lens here because that also would have brought him closer in space and made him larger in frame, and then maybe would have like cut some of his legs off and stuff like that. That way you're not seeing him stand there, because here it looks like Jason's upper body is bigger than his lower body. And these are just the types of things you have to keep an eye out for on set when you're shooting with Jason, that again, if you give the fans a frame, they will fuck it. I mean, that they are the ultimate client. You know what I mean? Like those of us who work in the commercial and film world, we have clients, they have a lot of demands, they want a lot of different things. And if I was a client on this show, that's one of the first things that I would point out and say that this is our brand character. We can't have him looking as if he is, 5'3". Like everything needs to make him look tall. Everything needs to make him look iconic. And if we can do that on the Never Hike Alone series, we can do it on this, because I'm 6'3". Brian is like 6'1" and change. And we always manage to somehow at least make Jason feel big and imposing. And the other thing that's not helping here probably is the mask. The mask is so large. I mean, look at the size of it on his head. He actually kind of looks like Jigsaw right there. Never a big fan of Jason with hair. I think it's kind of it breaks up the silhouette in an odd way. But yeah, he does look like Jigsaw there, doesn't he? So anyway, that's basically my rant about Sweet Revenge. I think that there is potential. I think that this could be in some way, shape, or form a Jason Goes to Hell, Roy type black sheep storyline that could go its own way, as long as they start tying in better aspects of the lore. So where does it go from here if there's a sequel? Is there an army that Jason is building of undead people that are going to be running the camp next time someone goes there? They're all like aspects of they're all betrayed people. They're just collecting more betrayed people like Midsommar. I mean, Mike did make Wrong Turn 2021, which did involve a cult living in the woods, sort of living in their own world. He knows the cult world. There are stories in the Friday the 13th lore about cults that follow Jason. People could be going to Crystal Lake to be reborn into Jason's cult. These people who have been betrayed. There's people who want revenge, selling their soul so they can take care of the people who wronged them in some way. Could be an act of revenge to bring somebody and trap them here. It's going to take a lot of loose logic to make that work. But I think if the subject keeps becoming about love and relationships and broken hearts, I think that there's a what's it called? There's a market for this. You know what I mean? There is a market for this. I think that this could be a piece. This isn't the only thing coming from Friday the 13th. There are, we still have the TV show. We still have the game that is on the horizon. We still have a movie that is on the horizon. And if this is just the first step in a many steps of the Friday the 13th franchise and the Jason universe doing activations and short films, my only pitch would be this, is that Sweet Revenge is a pretty cool name for a fan film. It's a pretty cool name for an activation. And I know a really cool name for an activation that I also think could work. It's something called Never Hike Alone. I think that Never Hike Alone fits right into the Sweet Revenge model. It's something that doesn't have Friday the 13th in the title. It has a Jason that looks like Jason, but isn't a canonical Jason, has its own world, exists with its own characters, and captures the honor and spirit of Friday the 13th in such a wonderful way. I think that there's a real potential and possibility to take the Never Hike Alone world and canonize it and then expand upon it. We have Ghosts in the Fog coming out. We have an idea for Never Hike Alone 3. We have lots of other ideas that we could spin off in our world and do. We have the Ghost of Crystal Lake. We have Pamela's story. We have all these different things that, when paired with the right, I mean, Never Hike Alone. Hey, REI, you want to make a movie? Hey, Patagonia, want to make something cool? I mean, Columbia Sports, what are you guys up to? You ever want to work with Jason Voorhees? Wouldn't that be great for your camping brand? I mean, who's better camper than Jason Voorhees? This could be, and this is something that I pitched a long time ago, and I really do believe in. I believe in a Jason Voorhees multiverse. I believe in a TV show that comes out every year with 8 different episodes of 8 different Jasons that all tell different stories. One's directed by Jordan Peele. The other one's directed by the guys who directed Talk to Me. One's directed by Damian Leone. One of them's directed by me. They all have different Jasons. They all have different stories. They all have different lores. And guess what? As those things release and come out, if you have a Friday the 13th game and you have 8 episodes and you have 8 Jasons, well, guess what? Those are 8 new Jasons that go into your cool new game that you can now buy as a fan to play your favorite one. Now, you might not like all 8, but I guarantee out of that 8, you're going to love 1 or 2 of them. And there's going to be, and that's why I think like Sweet Revenge, like honestly, this is my prediction for Sweet Revenge Jason. Everyone hates him now. And then people are going to ironically be Sweet Revenge Jason in the game. And then he's going to be OP and everyone's going to use him just to piss people off. And you're going to have so much fun playing as Sweet Revenge Jason to piss people off, just like people used to play NES Part 3 Jason in Friday the 13th, the game. And it's going to become a running gag. And all this anger and that everybody is feeling right now is going to go away because we're going to have fun with it. Yeah, some of us were disappointed. Yeah, some of us wanted something different. Yeah, a lot of people are nitpicking things. But the important thing is that Friday the 13th is back. And if you were at this event, I had a great time. I got to say, if they're going to do more of these types of events where I get to show up and buy stuff with Jason on it. And look, I even got one of these, which is really cool. Shout out to Manny from NECA for hooking me up with this, finding this for me. They had a few extras. So I got the lithograph from San Diego Comic-Con, which is pretty cool, from Mondo. So that was pretty rad of him. And so those are my basic feelings. I have 323 comments that I have not looked at, and I am sorry. I apologize. So here's the thing. I see a couple of things. I got a couple new members. I just want to say what's up to Joan. I want to say what's up to Zachary. Thanks for following, guys. So I am all the way down. Here's the last one that I have. Sam Weber, not a chance. No need to be angry. It's a step in the right direction. Thank you, Joe. In fact, shout out to Joe and Lisa for hanging out with us at the thing. That was a lot of fun. I had a blast with you guys. Man, so, you know, I haven't had a chance to really kind of dive into the stuff, but let me see this. Let's frame fuck the original movies and see what we find. Exactly. And what have we been doing for the last, 45 years? We've been frame fucking these movies, as fans, but we love it. Like, people have to understand, and they have to start letting go that criticism is a bad thing. Okay. People have been criticizing Friday the 13th films since the dawn of time. It started with Siskel and Ebert. It hasn't stopped anybody from watching them. You know what I mean? Hasn't stopped anybody supporting them. Do you like the way that this is coming out? Does it seem kind of odd? Yeah, because it's new. We've never experienced this before, but this actually happened. And one of the big attitude changes that I tried to take in the last week, especially when I was walking down that orchard, I'm like, I want to have a good time with this. Like, whatever it is, it's not going to satisfy probably every itch that I have for Friday the 13th. But you know what? I just spent 8 years satisfying my own itches, having fans pay for me to satisfy my own itch. Okay. I got very little to complain about, and I shouldn't be really complaining about anything because I put my story out there. I've gone through this. So I actually understand a lot of what's going on as far as like what their team is going through and all of those stuff, because I've been having to deal with fan expectations since we released the first Never Hike Alone. No one expected the first one to be any good. And then everything after all that was like trying to hit like, the golden ring again. Wasn't very easy. Yeah, no, there's a ton of people in here. I really appreciate all the new people that are in tonight. Let's see. With you, Ali, not a chance. Max thought Sweet Revenge was terrible. Well, hopefully you'll come back for something else. Like, if they did something else, I'm sure you would come back for it. The jacket is still wrong on Jason, man. All you jacket haters out there, you guys got to step. You'll get your buttoned up tidy Jason soon. I have got to get my membership rolling. I have to do it on my computer. Oh, nice. Great job. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I just can't see their vision for this. I get it's a 13-minute ad for a beer. It's a, I guess it's a beer company, but it's a cider company. How was their first official release for anything Jason related? Well, one thing I want to get into, which I can't get too deep into, is I did get some answers. I was able to talk to some people behind the scenes. This is one of the reasons why I knew I had to be there. And I asked some of the hard questions. Unfortunately, during these Q&As, what the Friday the 13th universe or Jason universe has yet to do is open up questions to the fans for us to rate. I would have loved to have asked 12 questions. I am bouncing all over the place, but they didn't allow to do that. But there were people mingling around afterwards. So I did ask some questions. Guys, buckle in. It's going to be a while before we get a game or a movie. And in between, we're going to need to fill that space. Part of filling that space is going to be the TV show. It's going to be a big part of it. There's many seasons. We're probably going to get a couple of seasons of the show before we ever get a movie, before we ever get the game, because it's going to take a long time for those things to happen. What I will say is what's being invested into those things and why it has taken a long time is worth it. It will pay off in the long run. But in the meantime, it's these activations and it's these things like the Halloween Horror Nights, and it is, this Sweet Revenge, not specifically Sweet Revenge, but until the next one, that we will be there. And a little tidbit about Sweet Revenge, the production was done in January. I mean, not January, in June 7th, the first week of June. They went out there, they shot for 7 days, and then they had it delivered by this week. So that's roughly a 12-week turnaround from print, which isn't bad. And they finished cutting it and finishing it this Sunday, I believe, Sunday before the thing. And then they flew with it and brought it to Wednesday and got it uploaded. So if they can turn something around in a 12-week span, I mean, there's got to be more coming. There's got to be more there. I do know that there are 2 commercials on the way. So this isn't everything we're getting. There are 2 commercials. They are definitely commercials. But Jason will stalk and slash in those as well, and we'll see if they are managed to make anything better and things to react to. So we'll actually have commercials to react to. So there's just going to be more small Jason. There's going to be more Never Hike Alone, Jason Rising, Vengeance, and his name was Jason's, and Victim No More is whatever the Jason universe comes up with. They've sort of jumped into the fan film world. They've jumped into the fan short world, creating shorts which could be between 8 and 20 minutes, because Sweet Revenge could have been between 8 and 20 minutes, according to the pitch. I mean, according to the Q&A. So I think fans should look at that. I think fans should think less about, okay, this is what this one, because this is just another film in the line of fan films that we've been getting in the last 10 years. And for every 10 fan films, probably 2 of them are watchable. Sorry, guys. But I mean, you know what I mean? There are those of us who will watch every single fan film, and we will be nice, and we will watch everything, even when people are struggling or when things don't have quite the same production value as, one of the ones that gets, more production or has more experience. It's more for the common person. The common person who is checking in and watching these films has a standard in which they watch. They're not going to delve below a certain level. And, we know that we're going to keep getting high. At least this was shot at a high level, high-ish level. You know what I mean? So you kind of get there. When can we do this again, please? I do this every other Friday, or I try to do it. I will say Sweet Revenge is definitely something new. I am always going to be a fan of new stuff and new visions. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't necessarily my first gut reaction when they kind of hinted that they were going to team up. I was like, bleh. You know what I mean? That's me. But then, I got to say, I've been hard on Mike P. Nelson in the last few weeks, probably because I'm super jealous that he got to do it and I didn't. I mean, honestly, that's it is. I mean, I'm just, it's you're I'm so close. I could do this. I know I could. And then you see other people doing it. You're I want that. And so you're critical because you want to say, what do they have that I don't? What I will say is, listening to him talk about it, I kind of sat back and I listened to him sort of talk about the film and sort of stuff like that. And I heard a fan. You know what I mean? I stopped seeing him as another director. I stopped seeing him as this guy who oh, he got to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I wish, I want that opportunity. And I just sat back and I'm oh, he's a fan. And he just made his little vision. And he's out here just trying to bring something to Friday the 13th that's different and trying to do his little spin on it. And if he was someone who was like a James Sweet, or if he was Cecil Laird, or if he was, any of the other number, Cortland Gordon, or any of the number of filmmakers that I've ever worked with, all I've ever done is looked at their material and said, "You got a good idea here. I see its appeal. Let me help you find your audience. Let me help you, mine this for the nuggets that quite aren't in it yet, and let's make this thing special." And I honestly think that when you look back at it and you don't have a personal feeling about it, that Mike could create his own little fan base off of it. I mean, look at Jason Goes to Hell, look at, part 5, look at Jason X, look at these, offshoot Friday the 13th films that have their own followers. Every Friday the 13th fan loves a different film, and you don't know if this is going to be the thing that, somebody loves. Let's say some kid just watched this for the first time. You know what I mean? This is his first Friday the 13th and he loves it. Are you going to go stomp on his nuts because it's not what you like? You're going to look at Ted White, you little shit. You know what I mean? Like you gotta take a step back sometimes. And I know we get passionate about this stuff. Me more than anybody. I mean, you guys all see me out there. I fucking rant with the best of them. But at the same time, every now and then you got to check down. You got to realize that the person on the other end of that text or that tweet or that post is just a human being who loves this franchise as much as you do and enjoys it differently. I mean, if I said right now to all 140 people in this chat, what's your favorite Friday the 13th on 1, 2, 3, you'd all yell different numbers. Who's your favorite Jason? 1, 2, 3. Boom, you all yell different people. Okay, Friday the 13th is different to everybody, and that's what makes it special. It's not, it can hone in on something that harkens to a specific quadrant of our fan base, but you're always alienating someone else no matter what angle you pick, whether you go undead or you stay human, or whether you follow body jumping demon snakes or you go to space. You know what I mean? Like that's the way it sort of goes. One thing I do want to say, and I do think is a little funny, and I just want to poke some fun at people right now, just for the way that they've reacted to this, is I would say that there have been a few reviewers, one in particular, who has been extremely hard in the Jason universe, who tucked their tails between their legs after Sweet Revenge and acted like it was fine. Oh yeah, that was good, because they want to be friends with directors, because they're writers for specific magazines, and it just so happens that their friend got to make the movie. And I wish that this would stop in the horror world, is the toxic positivity, this feeling that we have to all be friends all the time and we always have to agree. And if someone does something and they're in our little clique of people who have access to certain levels of information and news organizations where we protect our friends, we don't write bad reviews around them. If something's confusing and doesn't make sense, just say it. If your friend did something and you didn't love it, don't post a review. I know a few people who didn't post reviews of Never Hike Alone 2 because they probably didn't like it, and they did me a favor. They didn't want to drag me through the mud. And I can get it. It's nice that some people are stepping up for Sweet Revenge and defending it and finding different ways. I think everything I said tonight was pretty valid. I think that it would have improved the film if they would have followed those things, which is why I would love to work at the Jason universe and be in a place where Mike would not only bring his scripts to all of, those who run Jason universe, but he could also run it by me. And I could help him unfold the many mysteries of Friday the 13th together, like many other people, and get everybody round up, just like I do on a daily basis for free right now. No one pays me to work with James Sweet. No one pays me to work with Cortland Gordon or to sit down with fan filmmakers and go over crowdfunding, techniques and what's legal for a fan film, what's not legal for a fan film. I've just been doing it because I instinctually love doing this. And it's like I've said since 2008, this is the job that I've always wanted. So I'm going to continue to do that, but it would be nice to do it for the official brand, because it would be nice, because I have no problem going into Greg Nicotero's office at K&B and saying, start over, bro. No, this isn't it. This isn't it. I'm sorry. We're not going with this. This is not representative of our brand. This isn't our character. There are other ways that we can change this mask. I know I did an experiment today, right, everybody? I think anyone who followed me on Twitter today saw this. I tried to pull it out again and see if you guys would like me. And of course you didn't. I brought out this mask in an example. Here is something that I think blows the fucking Sweet Revenge mask out of the goddamn stratosphere. And let me show you its inspiration, which I think is even better. This goddamn thing. Hang on a second. Boing. Let's pull There we go. And let's do that. I'm also going to pull these away for a second so you can look at it. Look at this thing. Now you can drill as many fucking holes in this thing as you want, and make it look cool. I think that this was the inspiration for the Ghost Hawk. This was the original Ghost Hawk thing that I did. This isn't how the mask really looks. There actually used to be like a little smiley face in it and stuff like that, but I moved it all around and I did all these things and I added all these holes, a different hole pattern. Everything's, faded away, a little blood spatter and all that stuff. I think this looks cool. It kind of looks like Frankenstein from Death Race 2000 or 3000 or 5000 or whatever the hell it is, Transylvania 65000. Fucking love that movie. So I understand that, like, I experimented with the oval eyes, but the oval eyes just don't work. I'm sorry. There's nothing you can do to make the oval eyes work. I've tried it a million different times, a million different ways. Like I said, I put this online. I said, what do you guys think if Sweet Revenge Guy looked like this? And everyone went, no, 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 no. And that looks kind of brutal and cool, but it's still not Jason. You have to find the essence of it. So that's the goal. The goal isn't to make friends with Greg Nicotero. The goal isn't to make friends with somebody. The goal is to get the best product out of the person that you're hiring. And if you don't know that these shapes are going to piss people off from here to fucking Japan, then that's a thing that needs to be in the system. There needs to be a checks and balances. I mean, I was talking about my good friend Kaiden Ritchie this weekend, who was my Jason Wrangler on Never Hike Alone 2. I knew that Kaiden had never worked on a film set before, but one thing Kaiden knew, being a Friday the 13th fan, is how Jason is supposed to look. So before every single take, I would turn to Kaiden out of everyone on my staff, because I'm telling you, there are many people on my staff who I asked check the costume and have let me down. Kaiden Ritchie, as a fan, knew what to look for. He knew Ghost Jason inside and out. So if my collar was the wrong way, he flipped it. If the mask wasn't low enough, he pulled it down. If the straps weren't straight, he got it in. And he made sure that everything was in the right place when we did that. And I wouldn't be there without him. And that's what the Jason universe needs. It needs a Kaiden Ritchie. It needs somebody sitting there just being like, who will be a little nerdy frame fucker and will raise their hand and say, that's not Jason, try again. And that's all I think the fans are asking for, really. I think the fans are looking for someone who is taking that attention to detail and not just blindly accepting whatever comes because you've hired someone famous to do something. And I've seen this happen before. I've worked on animated films where we've brought in people of a certain stature where we just sort of, whatever they give us, we take it and we run with it. And I watched an entire studio waste like $500,000 trying to make a script that would never work. In fact, more than that. I think they paid $500,000 for the script. Which is pretty crazy. Oh, Blake's live right now down at All the Good Names Are Taken podcast. And it just so happens everyone's over. Oh, that's where all my viewers went. I just lost 15 viewers. Let's get into some comments. I said I was going to get into some comments. Let me see. Ever wondering if there's just going to be a chance of Jason versus Freddy Krueger from Dylan's New Nightmare? I know I've asked this question. I'm just wondering. We're working on it. We got to finish Dylan's New Nightmare 2 first, but anytime we can figure that out, I'm definitely down to do that. The fact that it's instilled feelings in all of it's important, made us feel something, hate or love. Yeah, the fact that we even care is like just half the battle. I see that I know what I did last summer, which sucked in 2025. I wish Hollywood would quit screwing over horror remakes. Yeah, that mask looks like it's been hunting for years, just aging, wear and tear. Yeah, I know, that's what I think. Now, I will say this. I did see some behind the scenes shots of the mask. I did wish I had them. I should ask for them. Maybe I can look at them next time. But it looked better. I mean, the final version does look better. I do wish that they would release that. I think that they should start releasing behind the scenes footage. I think it would only help their cause. I think people getting a better look and sort of getting to nitpick a little bit more wouldn't be a bad thing. But I guess we'll see more when we see the commercials start popping out. Oh, another thing. I brought another show and tell. Let me see. Hide current comment. The other thing too that I've been looking at is like, I think I found the inspiration. The Cooper. Look at this thing, the HM Save Jr. This is pretty, look at this, right? Is this not Sweet Revenge-ish? It's got kind of the same eyes. It's got the same minimalistic holes. It's got this stuff up here, which is kind of interesting. I mean, what if the chevron wasn't a chevron? It was actually like a hole. You know what I mean? It's got these slits over here, which I think are cool. So here's something, all right, that is an example of interesting to change. If you handed this to an effects artist and said, I want you to take this and I want you to Jasonify it, just like they did the Jacques Plante mask, I think you could get something interesting. Now, I still think you gotta fix these eyes. You can't land on this. You can try this. You can try it. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to go to the oval eyes. The oval eyes are the Jaws eyes. And that's the center. That's where everybody looks at Jason. When people look at Jason, they look right here. Okay. Everything goes right here. Yeah, we know he's got this and that and the blah, blah, blah. But everything goes right here. And if you don't start here and lock in at that moment, everything else falls apart. So this has got to be your foundation. You got to bring them into the eyes. Then everything else you do around it, maybe you add a slit sometimes. Maybe you add vent slits. Maybe it's not holes. Maybe it's stripes. These are different things that can be played with. Obviously, everybody wants that. You know what I mean? But they're not doing that because those are owned and they want to create new things. And sorry, I just dropped stuff. Hey, it's a hockey mask. It's meant to take a punishment. That hockey mask looked like the sequel to Jason X. So that's pretty cool. It's a good little mask, though. No, it is. It's a cool little mask. I'm not pissed about the mask. It looks like a make-believe old hockey company within the universe made it, not based on anything super realistic. It looked great in the dark lighting. I agree. I do think that it doesn't look realistic enough, and that's been its sort of like, kind of thing that's dragging it down. Now, I did not do that thing, and I think that let me see. I want to take you guys on an adventure pretty soon. But why don't we jump into some let me see. Oh, Frank, sending some love. Thanks, buddy. I just saw that. Oh, and Liana just jumped into the member badge. Thank you very much. Let's see. I'm going to start taking some questions. Guys, super chats really help the channel. So if you haven't already, a super chat, a couple bucks here or there, if everybody just kind of jumps in, what happens is when you ask a super chat, I have to answer that question. I may miss your question if you don't super chat. I'm not doing it to be a greedy son of a bitch. Everything that happens here helps Womp Stomp Films, helps us make new stuff. It's not like this isn't my spending money. This is actually this is helping a ton with some of the Indiegogo stuff and some of the payments that we still owe for things. Like, you guys watching and supporting these films has been a huge thing. And the other thing I want to thank Sweet Revenge for is, guess what? Never Hike Alone plays are up this week, baby. All Sweet Revenge is doing is making people want to check out Never Hike Alone because people are mentioning it in the comments, wondering what it is and checking it out for the first time. We have plenty of new subscribers. We have lots of new people checking it out. So anytime anything new Friday the 13th drops, it just helps the entire franchise because it either makes you miss the old ones and go back and watch it, or you like something new and we got new things that will be made. We can ask anything, huh? Yeah, you guys can ask anything. Go back to plastic masks instead of the metal looking ones for fuck's sake. A lot of things look better in the dark. Yeah. Wait, Vin, the Jason that came out at the premiere party, was that the same mask from Sweet Revenge? I didn't get a look. No. This is very much a mask. Like, it's Spirit Halloween. This is nowhere near to camera accurate. In fact, the one that they showed at San Diego Comic-Con wasn't even camera accurate. The one I saw on the behind the scenes photo was way different. Oh, ew, here we go. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Zachary. What did you think of? Oh, hang on a second. Boop, boop, boop. What did you think of Jason's dad in the fan film Vengeance? That story really could have went somewhere. Yeah, I actually worked on an early iteration of Vengeance called Mythos. I remember when they pitched that to me. I will say this. I don't think that Jason's dad has a strong presence in the Friday the 13th world. I think it's very mother-son. I do have a version of that I did want to sort of bring to life, my own sort of Elias. I thought that, what Vengeance did was definitely what Vengeance did. Wasn't a big fan of it story-wise. It wasn't my cup of tea. I wasn't a fan of the tone. I wasn't a fan of the way they handled a lot of things, not just on screen, but behind the screen. But at the end of the day, like I said, all films create their own fan bases. And so to go around stomping on other things, which I know I've learned my lesson on this, not to say I'm actually really good at not doing it, but I've learned my lesson on it. Is I don't want to stomp on other people's things, but I'm going to tell you honestly what I think. I think that Vengeance is one of the most, if not like what's a good word for it, to be diplomatic, but I think that they had the resources to do something great, and they did something okay. And if they'll ever figure out how to get beyond sort of like their own shortcomings to actually do better work, I don't know if they ever will. I don't know if they're actually really ever capable of it. I don't think that like writing and lore and things are their strong suit. I think effects and, you know, art department and titling and things like that, like they make that stuff look good. But when it comes to the storytelling, that is where every fan film sort of could use some work. It's in the story. And I think a lot of people get really excited to make Friday the 13th films, and they oh my God, Adam, you greedy son of a bitch. That's so funny. I think that where a lot of fan films fall short is they underestimate what to do with the story. I think they underestimate how much of a story really needs to bring us along, because you go back and watch Friday the 13th films, there are stories. The people are just standing around. Like Rennie has a story, Tina has a story, Tommy has a story, Tommy has a story, Tommy has a story, Chris has a story, Ginny has a story, you know, Steve and Alice have a story, the camp has a story. You know what I mean? There are stories there, there are people, there is lore. And I think that sometimes the lore either gets too complicated, which I think Vengeance did, got really complicated, or it just sort of becomes hokey. And I think that that's another thing they kind of fell into. So that's just sort of my thing about. I got a question. He says, how's Ghost in the Fog going to, and any updates on NHA Theory? I figured I'd ask since I know you and the team have been cooking on these. Like I said, we just recorded, oh, hang on a second. I gotta do one thing. Don't forget to slash that like button. All right. So, Ghost in the Fog just recorded Zoran and Chelsea. Animation is happening. I think in a few weeks, I'll show you guys some really early stuff. I'll show you guys like stuff we're cutting together. I've been putting some stuff together, so it's kind of been janky, but look at this guy. Jason Parker jumping in the chat. What's up, dude? Oh my God, I'm doing too many things. Okay. Good to see you, dude. I hope you traveled home safe. So yeah, so back to Brandon's question. Bing bong bing. We're animating scene 3. Once scene 3 is animated, we're going to release it, and you're going to see a kill. You're going to see Dom's kill. It's fucking cool. We've been working on that. Some people have seen it. I've gotten the thumbs up from other fans who have seen it behind the scenes. So get ready for that. Adam Miles says Roy needs a new story. I pitched Roy's revenge to Shavar Ross, which we could call the film Reckless. So Shavar Ross is in, Miguel Nunez is in, Ron Sloan is in, and I talked to Melanie Kinnaman, which was really cool, and she was a sweetheart. So Melanie, if you're watching, hi. Brother curly haired dude had a story in part 3. Yeah. Brother curly dude. Yeah. Larry Zerner, Shelley. Roy Burns. I don't know if Jason would actually wear that one. Yeah, I don't know if Jason will wear that one, but he would wear other ones. You know what I'm talking about. Let me see. Who else is here? Just subbed. First time seeing this podcast. I wish I found it sooner. Keep up the work. Thanks, Nathaniel. Welcome to the podcast. I hope you checked out the movies. If you haven't seen the Never Hike Alone films, or on the channel, check them out. That's why I'm here. Zach's checking in. Damn those enchiladas. Oh, Jesus. It's like one of those old Three Stooges can poke them through the air. That's funny. After Effects. Yeah, maybe. I can't remember what's in relation to. I have ADHD, so I don't know what that would be. Did you like the music? I thought it was an improvement. Yeah, no, they went they went classic with the movement. I thought that some of it sounded a little tinny and a little like electronic. Didn't sound like they went with an orchestra. That would have been kind of fun if they did that. Hell yeah, we would do Ghost Roy. Ghost Roy is a big thing. Thanks, Vin. You're the man for answering that question. Y'all in the chat. I don't know about y'all, but I got mad respect for this dude. Oh, Never Hike Alone 3. The pitch and the outline keeps getting more and more and more and more fleshed out. I think the ultimate thing, when we guys talk about, the old adage, not to toot my own horn, but bing bong bing, we want Womp Stomp. I think the mission for We Want Womp Stomp should be for the Jason universe to basically come in and partner with us on Ghost in the Fog and Never Hike Alone 3. And then if we say partner with Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and Jason Universe was our sponsor, and they'll match the fans, will help us match the fans with other sponsors to whatever the fans raise, we'll raise. So we'll turn a $250,000 budget into a $500,000 budget, a $500,000 budget into $1 million budget, or maybe there's a cap. There's a cap at 250, and if we go in at 500, we have $500,000, which would be the most we've ever had for one single film. To do Never Hike Alone 3, which would actually be a cost-efficient film the way it's going to be made. And the number one thing we're going to do, the number one thing I'm going to invest in with Womp Stomp Films during the next round of crowdfunds is a fulfillment service. That way you guys don't have to wait so long for me to live my life and then find days to go ship packages and do all that fun stuff. I know it's taking a long time. Speaking of that, anybody who's an Indiegogo backer for Never Hike Alone 2, we're on the final like 300 less orders international. We've been taking care of Canada, UK, France, Germany. We are plucking through the orders. We do have VHS tapes in stock that need to be shipped. We're waiting on Ghost Hawks to come in. That's sort of the last thing. But the figures came in. The tall figures, I think Dr. Bruce is probably somewhere around here being like, you said you were sending my stuff 3 weeks ago. I swear to God, we're getting in there. We're getting in there soon. But we want Womp Stomp. When you guys start tagging Jason Universe and things, I want you to say things like, we want Never Hike Alone 3. We want Ghost in the Fog. Bring it, bring it, bring it. There are 3 Friday the 13th next year, and we can hit them. We're actually in production right now. We can schedule those things with the final cut and all that stuff. So let's go on that. I would appreciate all y'all's help. On those things. Let's get back to the comments. Let's get back to your comments. Bam. Here we go. Now you guys will be on the thing. As long as my figure shows up for Christmas, I'm good. It will be there for Christmas. It'll actually be there pretty soon. The fact that Jason Universe didn't come to you guys first is kind of wild. One thing I do want to talk about this. Guys, some of the people they're talking to, I mean, they're talking to the top echelon people who are working in the field. You know what I mean? The Brad Caleb Canes, the Brian Fullers, the Jordan Peels, the Jason Blums, all these different people that are sort of out there and doing their own thing. Like I'm just, naming names to say like, this is that level, like James Wan, you know what I mean? Atomic Monster, all that stuff that we've been seeing floating around. I'm very low down on that list. I'm probably on a list somewhere. They probably know who we are. But I don't have an agent. I don't have somebody pushing me into that room the way that like Mike got pushed into a room. And luckily for him, he had worked with Sherry Khan before. And Sherry Khan was the one who called Mike and said, we want to do this. Do you want to come do it? So it goes to show you that it's all in who you know. And because Mike had the right connection, he got in there. That's why I didn't get asked. But you never know. I've made some connections. I've talked to some people. Hopefully we can get some stuff going. Look at this. Chuck Phelps loving Godzilla in the background. I finally got this guy onto the podcast. So I'm so pumped about that. Steve DMV, he's got a story. Let me see. I would say that you're dead on with the most failing films have no story argument. I've always hated the talking points about Friday the 13th just being kills and sex. That has always been stories. Yes. And that's why I always push for people that like, that's what inspires me about fan films is like when Jason Rising came to me and the story was about Pamela coming back and sort of all these different things that are happening. They had a great essence, but once we sat down and said, but what's the story? And we came up with Justified meets Predator. We had everything we needed to then put the cool stuff in the story. If it doesn't have the story to be put into, it just sort of, everything just sort of sits around and gets funky. And, people sense that, you know what I mean? Look at this guy, $2.13. Question: remove 2 movies from the mainstream series. Wow. Remove 2: Jason Goes to Hell and 2009. I didn't realize that was going to be easy, but then I realized how easy that was for me. Yeah. I'm sorry, Adam. I mean, obviously I can't remove it. It's fucking embedded in time. I can't do it, but I can't undo what you did to my brain. What's it like being cute? Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't know. I Never Hike Alone looked and feeled like a real movie compared to Sweet Revenge. Thanks you, Max. I really appreciate that. Sounds like Sean Clark needs to do a Har's Hollowed Grounds episode of Never Hike Alone. Well, if you guys push him to do it, I mean, I've walked by Sean. I've said hello to him a few times. They all know who it is. I just think that, I don't know. There's like this, he's the fan film guy. oh, he talks shit about films. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, guys, every time a camera is off and nobody's around, can I tell you how many people just bullshit and complain about the movies they've seen and the filmmakers they know and this and that? We all bullshit. We all talk shit. It's just a part of life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm from Massachusetts. Our friends, we talk shit about each other all the time because we love each other. Like, we literally say things just because we're either concerned or we actually, we actually have some grievances. We actually say those things out loud. We explain each other's, we get over it and we move on. We don't hold secrets like you people in the Midwest. And yeah, I'm talking to you people in the Midwest who do that. Northeast people just fucking say shit. Midwest people are too nice. They just can't say it. They just get real angry underneath there. I can see it. I can see when you guys are like boiling underneath the surface and you don't say it, but you're polite people, so you don't say it. In Boston and New York, we actually say that shit, and that actually goes better than just holding on to it and pressing it down. I want my money back. You want your free ticket back? That's funny. Oh yeah, that's right. You uh, Jason loves Jason Goes to Hell. And the remake. So pretty funny. Poop on Mobile. Would you have an issue Damien Leone making a Friday the 13th film? I would say this. I would not have an issue with Damien Leone making an activation what's it called? A vignette. I wouldn't mind him. I actually think that they should pursue him for a vignette. Like, that's where I think he serves a purpose. I don't think that he is the guy to go in and rewrite the Friday the 13th franchise and come up with lore. I don't think that that is his strong suit. That's all I've ever tried to say, that if he got his hands on the franchise, that they would be in trouble because the lore would be in trouble and it would be all over the place. And it wouldn't be something that I enjoy as a main course. Now, would I stand off on the side and watch that circus go off the rails in a little one of these vignettes like I did, drinking back a fucking, having myself a blood orange cider and sitting back and watching that dude do something wacky with Jason? And like, it's kind of like a safe place. That's what I love about the short films and the fan films. It's a safe place to experiment. It's a safe place to think outside the box and hand things to things that you wouldn't normally, that you wouldn't risk on a feature film. These are the places to go out and have fun. So I don't think that somebody like Mike P. Nelson should direct 12 of these. In fact, Friday the 13th was only directed by the same person twice. I mean, only once, and it was Steve Miner. I mean, Sean Cunningham didn't even direct it twice, and he was the guy who invented it. Okay, so it's got to be spread out to different people. Now, do I think Mike, if the Sweet Revenge thing keeps going, should keep going with it? Yes, they should stick him in a lane and let him run down that path and make his thing. If Damien Leone got his little path, he got to go down that and make little 13-minute shorts. I mean, if he just did a whole Terrifier versus Jason fan film 3-parter of like Jason and fucking Art the Clown fighting, you know how many people would tune in to fucking YouTube to watch that? They would make millions on the streams alone, never mind the partners or the special events that they could do if they sold out and did Fathom events. And they can get this all done before they release a film and do something completely new and different that is on a larger, different scale. So yes, this is an avenue where I will say that that's where Damien Leone's strength lies. It's in something like that and creating an event type film versus having to build something that the entire franchise has to build its canon off of. So if you guys like that, can you guys give me all the money you cost me when you fucking shut down half my videos because you got mad because I didn't want him to do the new one? Let me see. Oh my God, super sticker. Thank you, Edu. It's frustrating, Sam. Let me see. Okay, now I'm caught up. Sorry, you guys, when you do the questions, I stop losing. All right, in the streets, if Blumhouse even thought about touching this franchise, you know Jason Blum wants it, and I wouldn't get mad because it wouldn't just be Jason Blum. It would be James Wan, and everyone is confusing Blumhouse with Halloween's sort of like off the rails thing, but that was David Gordon Green and Danny McBride. As long as they don't hire Danny I almost called him Danny McGreen. As long as they don't hire Danny McBride and David Gordon Green, then we're getting a completely, it depends on who they hire as a filmmaker, because they do Lee Winnell's films and his films are great. Let's see. I want an A24 Jason. Well, if you want A24 Jason, stick around this parts. These are the ones that's what I want to try to create. After watching Sweet Revenge, someone needs to call Womp Stomp and open up their checkbook. That'd be nice. What do you think about the Southerners, Vinny? You guys are like Northerners, but Southern. You just say, like, depending on which Southern. Texas, I think you guys talk straight, but it's more the more Midwesterners. I'll let you guys off the hook. Sweet Revenge was a waste of time. The mask is no question the worst hockey mask ever. I'm so pissed off about it days later. Like, shit, just let Womp Stomp do it, idiots. I appreciate the candor. I appreciate the passion. Yeah, man. I mean, this is, again, like, if Mike and this gang signed up to make a Friday the 13th film and not have to eat some crow with fans, and they signed up for the wrong franchise. I think that anyone who's a fan of this franchise knows that it comes with a huge but. You do have fans, and I thought that people were going to super hate Never Hike Alone, so I'm glad I got away with it as I did. Leone could do practical effects and interesting kills, and he would have some guardrails. Exactly. With some guardrails. I mean, he hasn't done anything outside of Terrifier ever. And everything that group does outside of Terrifier doesn't do very well. So it's sort of, if you're going to do it, go Terrifier versus Jason and put that on, make it a special event. It works, but not quite there yet. That's how I feel. The intro to the 2009 is fantastic. Yeah, the intro is fine, and then the rest of it falls on its face. I've been a fan of Friday the 13th from the beginning, and I feel that 2009 film is up there in the top 3. Hey, that's your opinion. That's what makes us Friday the 13th fans. That's what makes Friday the 13th so much fun. There are 12 now, 12.1 movies. For us to debate, there's 12 movies, 1 vignette, and 1,000 fan films for all of us to talk about and debate. So that's what it's about. It's about picking your favorite thing and running with it. Another person likes 2009. What are you guys doing to me? What are you saying? What if they asked you to remake Jason Goes to Hell? Dude, I would totally do that. I would do whatever they asked me to do. Like, if they gave me any playbook in the Friday the 13th universe, I would run and do with it. I would do Jason in Hell. I would do Jason escaping from hell. Quite easy. And the thing is, you could tell when someone like Tom enjoys the idea of bringing him to life, there's an obvious difference in the quality between his performance in Vengeance and his performance in Never Hike Alone. Yeah, because we actually had a real purpose for him to be there. We weren't just paying him to hang out because we thought it was cool to hang out with Tom Matthews. We actually tried to build the lore. Yeah, that was another kind of beef that I had with them, because I also thought that by them pulling Tom into their world, they were diluting the story of the Tommy Jarvis character. And if you had too many streams, it's sort of like, it takes some of the specialness out of what he does in Never Hike Alone. And then them doing it and it being like now the third fan film it's done, it doesn't even make it that special for them. They did it to spite me in a lot of different ways. I told them to go find another. They could have got John Shepard. They could have got Corey Feldman. They could have gone out and hired a new person to play a new Tommy Jarvis. They could have done a bunch of other things and just left Never Hike Alone, but they didn't. They kept poking at me for years. And then they took my Tommy that I had in my film, didn't ask me, didn't tell me, didn't give me a warning. I just found out the day of. And then I got people on their crew texting me being like, haha, checkmate, asshole. You know what I mean? Well, guess what? I've lapped that film in both their films 3 times around the fucking sun with views. So you know what? If people want to try and sweep me out from under my feet, they better come for the skull, because they have been missing wide. The remake was amazing. Good for you. I bet Crystal Lake premieres on either February or March 13th. I hope so. I live in California. Hollywood is now making crappy movies. Everyone just calls it Hollywood. I don't know. Not all movies are coming out of that crappy. There's been some good ones this year. I mean, Weapons, I haven't seen it yet, but that looks amazing. When do you think the new Friday the 13th movie will come out? Not soon. Not soon is all I can say. Jason Blum does Jason. Jason Blum does Jason's bum. I don't know. I just had to say that out loud. Blumhouse destroyed Halloween, though, and I'm scared for letting them touch anything. Danny McBride and Doogie McHauser can't touch it. Remember, we just watched Sweet Revenge live and liked it. Wow. Blake liked it? I think you're just saying that to piss me off. I just got in, but someone said that there are going to be 2 more commercials with Jason, that we are getting a movie and a game anytime soon. That is correct. There's 2 more commercials, and the movie and the game are going to be a while. They're not going to come within the next. They're in development, early development. Joe, yep. Halloween Ends is beyond repair. I bet I could fix it. So bad. If Blumhouse touches Friday the 13th, I might lose my shit completely. You guys are so funny. Ash versus Freddy versus Jason is something I'd love to explore. Yes, that should be. I think the comics are something they should dive into along with the novels. They have to say, we revisit the movies. Ugh, what a good trip. I didn't see that. I bought it. Is it bought or imagined? Hold on a second. They have say, we revisit these movies. What a good trip. I didn't see it. That I don't know what you're talking about. Did you hear any mumblings about the game Harry Manty just spoke about years ago? Yes, there is a game in development. There is one game in development. Pretty sure, fairly certain. Gun and Ilphonic not involved. I'm telling you right now, not involved. In fact, I'm going to say that. Look, I told you Schuyler White was Jason many weeks ago, right? And I was right because I pulled the right threads and I listened correctly during the speeches. I'm not just throwing shit at the wind. They have nothing to do with this new game. Nothing. Ilphonic and Gun will probably never work with the Jason world ever again. I don't think they will. I don't think that that's just a one-sided beef. I think that they would rather work with other people. And if what I heard about the game was correct, it's out of Gun's. It's going to be a bigger developer. It's not just Gun and Ilphonic. It's going to be a bigger developer, a bigger creator of games. So we'll see what happens with that. And I think that everything that we didn't get in the previous game, we will get in this new game. So it may not be the original Friday the 13th game as we know it, but I think it's going to be something that is within the same realm of what we got before, but with more resources. So keep an eye out for that. It's not going to be anytime soon. We're not going to get any announcements anytime soon, but I will say that fans should be excited for when that announcement does come. I think it's going to come with a lot of really, really cool shit. And it sounds like the engines and everything are going to be that much better. I appreciate your Never Hike Alone films. You kept Jason alive. Fans kept Jason alive because you allowed us to do what we did. We wouldn't have been able to do it if you didn't support us. I mean, at first, yeah, we were out there doing on our own. We were making little trailers. We were stumbling all over ourselves, but it wasn't until the fans came in and supported us and gave us the funding that we need, connected us with the alumni, and did everything that helped us achieve that. So this is a two-way street, everybody. We did the work, but you allowed us and you gave us permission to, and without you, we wouldn't even have it. So thank you for helping us. I like to, you guys, you know what I mean? You guys are still watching. Let me see. Perfect eye hole placement. Jason X2, I would totally do. Let me see. I'm running. Oh man, guys, I can't keep up with all this stuff. Jumping all in. And what's your opinion on the state of Friday the 13th video game? I think it's exponentially phenomenal. However, real small, mediocre road bumps. How do you feel about it? Well, I just kind of talked about that, so that's good. Dominic, hey Vincent, seeing and meeting you at Crystal Lake. Hey Dominic, yeah, it was good to see you too, man. I'm glad we had a chance to sit and talk for a little bit. I love the original Friday the 13th game. At least it had heart and passionate players. Agreed. I think we'll see more of that. What's your opinion on the state of Friday the 13th video game? I think it's, oh, you guys keep asking the same goddamn thing. Almost 120 people in the chat. You guys are leaving me now because I'm just, oh, that's what happened. You guys just keep asking the same question. Never Hike Alone needed an Angry Orchard tie-in. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, Blood Orange is really good, and so is Spicy Apple. I had a bunch of them in this glass. So that's just water. I don't get drunk on these things. All right, so 99 likes, but ain't one. But Peter Anthony ain't one, that's for sure. He's just gonna break my legs. Anyway, let's have some fun. All right, let's jump into the world. There's more Friday the 13th news I want to get into. If you guys haven't seen this week, speaking of Friday the 13th franchise.com, there have been some leaked shots, so you can't really see it well here, but go to Friday the 13th franchise.com. Go to our good friend Brian Emmenizer, South Jersey Jason, David Brown. There's some behind the scenes of Crystal Lake shooting in Blairstown, New Jersey, back where it all began. As you can see, Crazy Ralph here, played by Nick, good friend of the show. There she is. There's our Pam out there talking to Crazy Ralph. If you guys have been paying attention to this stuff, I'm sure you've all seen it. Lots of stuff has been leaking from the set. A lot of people have been grabbing photos. We've been seeing more police officers and things like that. So that's been really, really cool. And blah 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 blah. I'm really excited. I mean, that's just simply it. I mean, the more I see of this, the more excited I am. I'm really think that this is going to be something different. I was told this is its own entity. This story is just for the TV. This is not leading into the movie. The movie has nothing to do with the TV show. It's not like 4 seasons in a movie type thing and then it picks up where it left off. They're going to be completely separate. So anybody wondering if that's going to be it, it's going to be completely separate. Jason will be killing on the show eventually. But the first season is mostly about Pamela and her revenge and her tirade. The other thing that is interesting, so a few weeks ago, Zachary Branch was announced as the Jason for Crystal Lake TV show. Nothing has been confirmed or denied or reported or officially said, but we are hearing wind that that's a load of bullshit. And this guy might be fucking pulling wool over everyone who fell into this. This wasn't an official announcement. Zachary happened to be listed as Jason Voorhees on the IMDb. But there's no other official source that has listed him or announced him yet. And there has been some wind that he's actually a background actor that has overstepped his boundaries. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if that's official. I don't want to step on anyone's clients or anything like that. But I just want to let you guys know that that's out there in the world and to keep an eye on it. So that Zachary Branch, who is like 5'9", $160, that may not be your Jason, but we will see something, I think, in that world. So just that's funny. Jason goes west. Make this okay. That'll be funny. So that's going on in that world. What else did I want to say this week? Oh yeah, do I still have it? There it is. All right, I'm gonna try this, guys. I had a little trouble with it before. Hold on, I'm breaking it. All right, so I need to stop screen sharing that. I need to screen share. Boom, this. Okay, share. Hang on, I'm going to put that away for a second. Let me get it prepped. So these are all the photos I took from the Never Hike Alone camp. So if you guys were here to talk about Sweet Revenge and you guys wanted to bitch about that stuff, bitch time is owner. It's show and tell time. We're going to talk about the Never Hike Alone camp and my trip to the Never Hike Alone camp. If you guys have any other questions, you want to do that stuff, you can always, email us at wompstompfilms@gmail.com or show up next week, ask the questions again. But we've been going on for a while. I want to do this slideshow and then I want to get some rest. I got to switch my laundry and get some sleep. So without any further ado, let me try to open this up. So, I mean, I guess I should have had some before and afters, but here we go. So what happens when I do this? No, it doesn't show. It doesn't show. No. Oh, that's why. Hang on. Boop. Hang on. I messed up, guys. I have the wrong thing up. I need to do this. Give me 1 second. And if you guys want to hang around for a moment, I will be to you in a second. I had the wrong thing because I was actually supposed to bring up the drive. Here we go. And now I'll take up the first one. So we're going to remove, stop. Stop sharing the screen. We're going to invite another screen. We're going to go here. We're going to go here and bam. So welcome to the tour of the Never Hike Alone camp. Let me just take you through this piece by piece. Let me see if I can expand this out a little bit. Make this bigger. So what you're looking at right here is where we used to park for the film. So this is actually where the mud slide happened. So everything that is this is a mudslide. So there used to be a road that went down like this and wrapped around this tree. And we used to park over here. The entrance to the camp is right over here. And I will show that to you in a second. And then you drive up this hill and you go that way. So, oh, sorry. So turning around, so that was zooming in. So this is what the road into the camp looks right now. This, like, water came down this, washed away part of the road. There used to be a culvert over here that like connected all of this. That has all been washed away. Again, I took a shot. So this is like the mudslide came through here and then went that way. And then this was when I crossed that riverbed and looked back. So all of this is where I parked. This used to be the road. The road used to wrap around, and this was our parking area. And then the road used to lead up through here. This is now just a little steep cliff. which is pretty crazy. So I step back so you can get a little bit more of the vastness of it. Coming up on this is where the culvert used to be, which is now gone. It got washed down the thing. You can see here, this is the gate that used to go into. If you guys have ever seen old photos of it, you'll know that it's completely changed. Obviously, this has all been knocked in. You see all the rocks that have been pulled down. All of this asphalt had been pulled away. Walking up the road, which we used to drive our cars up, you can see over here, this is where the river came down. This is all washed away. This is now only a footpath. This is like probably a 20-foot cliff right here. And you can only walk over it now. So any chance of getting a car up there anymore is completely impossible. This road is the road we shot a lot of Kyle driving up the dirt road on the way to camp. So as you can see now, there have been plenty of trees that have fallen all over this thing. They're in the middle of the road. There is nothing we can do to move these. Not that we can even get this far, but if we could get this far, there is no way for us to do much with this unless we had chains and pulleys and things like that. Then you go up a little bit further, you see how the road got dug out. This all used to be flat. We drove right through here plenty of times. This area over here was the biggest mind-boggling because this all used to be trees. Anyone who followed me before and saw me build my Zen garden, which was about over here, that is long gone. If you ever want to watch last broadcast, which is on our channel, we actually shot this area out over here. It is just completely it's a football field wide of nothing. I mean, this all used to be trees as far as the eyes could see. This little river used to flow between everything, and now it all of this washed out and came down the mountain. As you can see, now the river has turned into sort of this little thing, and that's all it is now. Now, when you get on the other side of the trail and you start to go up towards the camp, trees have fallen all over this road too. It has created like a cool little path. Again, that's just another shot of like the riverbed, but coming here, having to pass under the tree. And now I'm in the camp. And so we kind of jump ahead in a little bit, but I just want to say something special about this door. For 8 years of going up here, I could never get this door open. There's another part of this that's not there anymore. It's just the screen door now. We could never get this door open, and somebody did. So that was pretty crazy. In fact, I took 2 pictures of it. That's how crazy I was. I left this sign up there last time I was there about a year and a half ago. It says, "Greetings, hikers. Welcome to college camp. We consider this camp to be a special place for all to enjoy. Please enjoy all the camp has to offer, but please help maintain a clean environment. Push trash in bags. No graffiti. Try the bathroom stalls at the pool. No fires. Leave it better than you found it. Take care and do not disturb the bats. Do not take things from camp, but do add your own art, construction, repairs to the camp. Can't make you follow the guidelines, but we sure hope you do. Happy trails, the ghost of college camp." So luckily, they listened. There's very minimal graffiti. There's people doodling here and there, which is actually kind of nice, but the chair we built is still there. People look like they've been kind of setting up. I mean, you can only hike up here on foot now. It hasn't been swept in a while. Usually we would sweep it when we were there. I did leave this as a message board. So people leave a message and then they write their message on a plate and they stick it to the wall. But it looks like somebody took our staple gun. These skis, I believe were there in the original film, but these are actually my grandfather's skis. He actually made these. This was a picture that did not come out very good, but this is one of the back closets. This is that fucking door that I can't believe they opened. Up in Jason's attic, it still looks like Jason's attic. You can't see this right here because I didn't realize it was taking a long photo, but the 3 chairs we set up for Video Village in the attic back here are still there. It looks really creepy. Once again, I did that again. So the shelf is still there. Jason's bed is still there. There was this that I found: 4 voices lost amongst the trees. Their final words drift with the breeze. Hidden in whispers, their message remains. Find the truth where silence stains. So it looks like someone else filmed a movie up there. A shout out to these 2 sawhorses, which my grandfather gave to me as a gift. I brought them up to the camp to like do a lot of the work that we did at the camp. So these are actually something that my family built a long time ago, and I left them there as a decoration. Here's something disturbing. Somebody spray painted inside this bathroom, "Help, he's here to meet a 14-year-old. So yeah, help them, please. Here's a shot of the inside of the camp. As you can see, the damage over here is still there, but it's not, the ceiling's not caving in. It's still in pretty good shape. This is where we did the Kyle MacLeod fight. You can see we actually repaired these windows and made them look a little nicer after the original film. Another shot inside the camp. Look, somebody hung up a sheet to do screenings, which was really cool. So imagine doing I would love to do a screening at the Never Hike Alone camp. We should definitely do that sometime. I fucking hit something. Oh, I'm all the way back here. Hang on. Sorry, guys. A little trip through memory lane. Oh, hey. So we're over here at the Steve Christie cabin, which is actually a two-parter. We split it in half. So we go in one side and we have the entrance room. We have the bunk beds, which are still set up. We have this shitty photo, which I forgot was in there. And we got this. So the blood on the wall from the shower kill is still in there. Steve Christie's office with a new piece of graffiti. Actually, I think this is a little darker. What's the matter? Scared? Would you climb up there and stick your head up there? I know it's up there. Here's an opening shot of the camp, or like here's a wide shot of like the actual cabin for the film. So still standing, still doing all right. Really scared about this tree falling on it one day. Really scared about this tree falling on it one day. But until that happens, she's still there. She's still alive. And I do miss her dearly. I did go inside. The original Camp Crystal Lake sign is still in there. Somebody brought some badminton stuff up. So they've been having fun. So remember what I said about, hey, if you want to go into the bathroom stalls and do graffiti, well, it looks like people listened. Only two options. Please don't get confused. Oh, God damn it. Did it again. So right here, right here, right here, bang, boom. So you go to men, you go to women, go this way first. So there was a lot of really cool, just, tagging going on. So I went and took as many photos as I could. I thought that was pretty cool on theme. Looked like the Mama's Boy logo. Ugh. I can't read that. Die, dippy, zippy, another stabby, bad face, flying skull. My personal favorite, Fort Nut. I mean, I think that's going to be my next horror film. Just like Womp Stomp Films presents Fort Nut. So that should be fun. This guy, another skull. Oh, look at this guy, 420 with the popsicle. Look at this dude being cool. This one was really nice. Steady moving. Looks like style or whatever that is. I didn't get that. It says true to Caesar. This was nice. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. And then if anybody wants to go inside, this is where you can find the Goon Cave. This is another really cool piece of art right there. So then I started walking down and I did another lap around the camp. So this is like one of the places where this wall right here is how we actually took a lot of wood from this wall to build things around camp. This is the water pump for the pool. So this is one of the cabins we use to promote Never Hike Alone 1. So this is like, you ever see the shot of like Kyle walks in front of the cabin and like looks in and then walks away? This is one of the cabins we shot that in for the one that the movie one. So we did that for the promo. For the movie one, we shot on the other side and did the one, but a fucking tree fell on it. We also shot an episode of Last Broadcast in here. You can see some of the remnants of the stuff that we had. Here's the cracked ceiling, which is pretty nuts. And here's this little, I kind of built all this with the wood and built like a fake fire pit. So that was kind of cool. Coming back down the hill, another little shot at our fence and all that stuff before we getting out there, before looking back at the camp. So this is a bonus. So when we shot the original trailer for Never Hike Alone 1, and I say after watching this, go watch the original trailer and you'll see the difference in cabins. This is one of the cabins we shot around. So this little community was also affected by the flood. So I ran into this community as I was walking by. This is my favorite cabin of all time. This is the one that inspired me to make Never Hike Alone. I saw this off the side of the road and had to walk around it. They actually shot a 1984 Nike commercial here where a girl outruns Leatherface with a pair of Nikes. So anyway, I took a picture of that, but this is the thing. So look, this was all washed away. Look at this house, guys. It's being held up by a stick. It almost got washed away. So this is all that damage that came through. It's pretty crazy, right? So that's that. Let me see. That's that. Okay, cool. So that's everything there. Boom, bang, bing. Remove a dat. Great. We know we're gonna make the Fort Nut one. Let me see. I got another one here. Oh, that was a super sticker. So I haven't watched Alien Earth yet. That's on my to-do list. I'm gonna try to do that. Let me see. I lost a lot of people with my Fort Nut trip. So What are we doing here, guys? We're almost 2 hours in. This has been quite the fucking trip. I hope you guys had fun. I love talking about Friday the 13th. I love making Friday the 13th movies. I love going to Friday the 13th events. I want to go to more Friday the 13th events. Now that I think about it, I went to the Friday the 13th game launch party. I've been to, I went to Crystal Lake Nightmares. I did this thing. I want to do more. I think they should do more. I think we should have more excuses to bring the Friday the 13th alumni together. It would be really, really fun. And I think Friday the 13th fans would be Tyler. You had me at Fort Nut. Maybe we're going to change the podcast name from the Ghost Files to Fort Nut with Vincent DiSanti. We'll get a whole different crowd. I think I'll do good with the gays. They'll definitely show up. And it will be fun. In the meantime, if you haven't yet and you've been riding this whole time and you haven't subscribed to this channel, I implore you to subscribe, hit the like button, do all the fun things. If you haven't checked out Ghost in the Fog on Indiegogo, definitely do that now. There's going to be updates coming to that campaign very soon, along with the Final Cut campaign. I'll give you guys updates on what's going on, as well as the Never Hike Alone 2 campaigns. I got 3 updates to write. We're going to get on that time. Yeah, it's almost bedtime for me too. Yeah, thanks, man. This was a great stream. And also thank you, Sweet Revenge, for all the boost and stuff that we get. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my rant on Sweet Revenge. I think I was pretty nice. I think I was pretty fair. We'll see what happens with the future. We'll see what goes next. Will I be back next week? Maybe. I think I have to roll some of the things I wanted to cover from last week into next week. I got a lot more work to do on this channel and doing all that stuff. But you guys have been great tonight. I had over 150 people at one point, I think, or at least 140. I did see a top out at 144 at one point. So this has been probably one of my most successful streams of all time. I'm glad everyone waited around. And again, when you go out there tomorrow on Twitter and you're out there on Facebook and you're in your groups and you're in your chat messages and you're on Reddit, just remember, on the other end of that lifeline, on that other end of somebody making a comment, is just another Friday the 13th fan like you. Treat them like a human being. If you guys want to fight and you guys just want to have a verbal battle for fun, do it. Just no personal stuff. Don't take anybody out, and let everybody know that you guys are just messing with each other, because a lot of people take it way too seriously. And I have a lot of people in my comments today who call me, like, people are being called plants, and people say that I'm kissing the ring and all this stuff. Listen, you just gotta, this is the ebb and flow of it. We're mean, we're honest, and we'll always be honest about Friday the 13th. This will always be a place of honesty with Friday the 13th. And all that stuff. And don't forget, we want Womp Stomp Films. Make sure you are posting about the films. Here, I'm going to do this. Make sure you are spreading word about Friday the 13th. Tag us with Jason Universe. All of these things. Comment on their things. Help us get into that room so we can have a meeting with them and we can say, hey, what can we do for you? Help me help you. And we can do that. So with all that said, I hope you all had a wonderful evening. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And until next time, I will see you all on the trails. Good night, everyone.